The verdict is in, and it appears that Biden had a successful State of the Union address. Today on Political Access, we're going to briefly go over this. So I'll scroll through some news here from the Hill. But for starters, over 70% had a positive reaction to the speech. Now, as for me, I was unable to watch the speech at the time. And quite honestly, I think I've only watched a couple of these over the last 10 years or so. I think at this point, it's basically the same thing every time. Whoever's in office at the time is going to completely highlight any success they've had and completely omit anything negative. And that's really the whole thing in a nutshell. And then, of course, there's always some guests that get a standing ovation. And then we inevitably get the shots of half the room standing and applauding and the other half sitting there sternly. It happens every single time. And even though I follow politics, sometimes it's just not fun to sit there and hear one side of the equation the entire time. Now, the response from the out party is going to be the inverse of the exact same thing. There's plenty of criticisms that could be levied at Biden, and then there's plenty more numbers that could be manipulated to make him look even worse. So I don't think this is going to change anybody's mind, but usually people have a positive reaction to the State of the Union. It's got all the normal aspirational stuff. And then they also have to speak to their base on some issues, get them fired up, let them know they're not being abandoned. But generally they try to keep it uncontroversial. And some people probably view it as a sideshow. Some people are probably glued to the entire thing. I would guess if you're usually a fan of whoever's in office, this time it's Biden, you'd want to watch the speech. If you're not a fan, you probably would not want to watch the speech. Same thing happened with Trump. But I did put a poll out the other day asking how important is the State of the Union. More than half of the votes say not important or only slightly important. If I had to vote on my own poll, I would probably say slightly important. It is a significant political event, so that gets it up from the bottom. But again, it's all one-sided. It's a lot of recycled issues and the same expected themes. So during and after the State of the Union, then the media steps in, and all the commentary ensues, and I'm all about going into a lot of detail, but I really don't care about who had a certain look on their face during which moment, and also being completely aghast as to how these people cannot be for this one issue. It's an issue everybody has to care about, so if you don't applaud for the specific way it was phrased, you must hate everything about it. That's a kind of flimsy analysis that I'm not a big fan of. It's just trying to stoke the flames even more, because all you have to do is look at the previous president or the next president and watch the same people do the exact opposite reaction. So there's your answer as to how certain people will stand or will not stand for a particular issue, given the phrasing and the context. So there is a lot of theater involved in this. Not really my thing. This is the kind of thing you could easily look up some summaries after, as I'm scrolling through here. You get all kinds of things like the top 5 things Biden did not mention during the speech, the 5 biggest takeaways, the 5 biggest moments. It goes on and on. So you can nitpick through this all day. You could analyze the responses to Biden's speech. You could analyze the media coverage endlessly and find all kinds of hypocrisies. Personally, I think the biggest issue and the most relatable issue to focus on would be the economy. Now, the economy is complex. There's a lot of different things you could talk about related to the economy. And every president in office, especially these days, is going to say the economy is either great or it's getting better, something to that effect. And because the economy is so complex, there's always going to be a couple of stats you could cherry pick to back up your claim. But the major criticism I have is unilaterally thinking the economy is great and we just don't know it. Sure, the unemployment rate is low, and there's a couple of positive indicators, but poll after poll shows that most Americans, the vast majority, are not liking this economy. And a lot of them don't like it at all. It's not enough to have a couple of metrics be positive or a super low unemployment rate, just like it wouldn't be enough if there was no inflation and prices were really low, but the unemployment rate was sky high. People would not say that's a great economy either. So it's understandable that whoever's in power is not going to want to say the economy is not doing all right. They're not going to give themselves bad PR. But at some point you've got to acknowledge it. So to see so many people from the administration in random interviews, or even just Democrats in general, seemingly being tone deaf a lot of the times, or having a narrow focus on unemployment rate, while putting inflation, cost of living, wages, all that on the back burner. And that's what people are really feeling whenever they go to the grocery store, whenever they want to buy anything. It's impossible not to feel it substantially in the wallet. This did not really get started until after Biden was in office. The gas prices, they started really shooting up about a year ago. Food prices and everything else followed shortly thereafter. So I know it can be hard to figure out how much credit or blame to give a president for the economic conditions, the pandemic and the shutdowns and the lockdowns. That was a completely unique situation. But before that happened, a lot of people were reasonably satisfied with the economy. But over the last couple of years, especially the last year, it's been really tough. There's all kinds of fears of a recession, even though a lot of people think we are already in a recession. And technically, that was already supposed to be true with 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. But there's a lot of anxiety out there. People are highly pessimistic about the future. Even if things get better, it's probably too little too late. Most people have seriously cut into their savings, their retirement accounts, any investments they might have. And then there's all the people that don't have any savings, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, and there's no chance they want to be told the economy is good, that it's great, that it's okay, because they would love to change places with you. So you can see if the economy is really all that great if you're not one of the elites. But they don't want to hear it. It's going to all fall on deaf ears, and they're going to tell you that if you only knew better, then you would agree with them. But as long as during their speech about how great the economy is, all they have to do is one time say, it's hard out there for working families, and then they can pat themselves on the back and sleep easier at night, knowing that they acknowledged and can relate to the working class. So anyway, there's so much superficiality about it, and that's pretty much what we expect from politics these days. You could go on and on about this. It never really ends. I'm not a big fan of analyzing speeches, but I did want to take a minute to provide some commentary on the State of the Union. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the State of the Union? Did you watch Biden's speech? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments. And on your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.